Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm Jonathon Aslay of jonathonaslay.com, and I'm so excited to be doing this live stream for you today. Our topic, the 3 signs he's genuinely falling head over heels in love with you. Really quickly, if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if any time during this video the content resonates with you, please hit that like button so I can be seen in the YouTube algorithms. Really quickly, my coaching is what I call heart-centered radical honesty. It's direct, a little tough love, and a lot of heart. And occasionally I use expletives to enhance the sentence. So if an F-bomb or two isn't your cup of tea, I suggest logging off right now. Lastly, these are my thoughts, my perceptions, my opinions. By no means do I suggest this is the truth. You've got to decide the truth for yourself. I'm a bit of a contrarian, so my advice goes contrary to public opinion and traditional expectations. And one last thing I want to say, my coaching is for those who are seeking partnership in a relationship, not those that are seeking casual relationships, situationships, or friends with benefits. So my tonality is based on those who are genuinely seeking a partnership type relationship. All right, so let's jump into the topic of how to tell if a guy is genuinely falling in love with you. So when I think of the word love, actually, I oftentimes think it's the most misunderstood or misused word in the English language. Let me repeat that. I oftentimes think it's the most misunderstood or misused word in the English language. In fact, I possibly think that is it. And I recently did a Facebook post on this. I actually did it this morning. And I want to share with you a couple of the comments. A lot of people were talking about love from the way the Greeks use the word love. Have they different layers of love? There's agape and a number of different ways of viewing love. And as the comments were progressing and people were looking at it from the romanticized way, I actually put the following comment to actually share where I was going with this. So I want to read to everyone what I wrote. I said, an unhealthy attachment to another human being is where I was going with this post. Often humans think they're experiencing love with someone, and yet they are in a sad, unhealthy, uncaring, or toxic relationship, calling it love. Personally, I call that martyrdom. And worse, it's a lack of self-love, which is usually the reason why they stay. I repeat that. It's a lack of self-love that people stay in those types of unhealthy relationships. In a romantic relationship, love is a two-way street. And if one person is a giver and the other person is a taker, that's not love in my book. There, I said it. That's my 2 cents. So I oftentimes witness women in particular express how much they love their partner. They love their partner in an unhealthy relationship, and they express how often they give to the relationship to an unhealthy, unsatisfying, or even worse, a toxic relationship, calling it love. So I think it's really important to understand what the misconception around love is usually centered around attachment. I'm going to repeat that, attachment. And what I mean to say is, if you're not familiar with the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, I highly recommend checking this out. By the way, all the books I recommend are listed in Jonathon Recommends Books, because this helps you get an understanding of what's known as love attachment style. And we can oftentimes choose partners, unhealthy partners for us, believing that it's love, when it's actually just an attachment to another human being. And to piggyback on that book, I want to bring to your attention the book Getting the Love You Want by Harvell Hendricks and Helen Hunt, because this talks about the imago, which is actually, we oftentimes choose people in our relationships that are very similar to one or both of our parents, and we're seeking to heal the wound with our parent, usually some sort of dysfunctional wound or childhood wound or trauma with our parents. So we choose partners that oftentimes, and if we're not conscious and aware of this, we'll repeat the patterns over and over and over again. You know, I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and it said the average human has somewhere between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts in any given day. I thought, wow, that's a lot of thoughts, but that sounds about right, or at least I could see that to be true. Some of you probably won't believe that, but and again, I'm basing it on this podcast. And of those, 80% of the thoughts we have are negative. And of those 80% that are negative, 95% of them are repetitive thoughts. So imagine if you have a repeating negative thought going over and over and over in your head. Could be about the relationship you're in, could be about yourself, could be about your family, could be about the traffic, whatever it is. Are you really in a genuine state of loving? If that's how much negativity, if the wolf we feed is negativity, then how can we actually be in a loving state? And I believe the antidote to that is gratitude, is to really practice an attitude of gratitude over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And yet most human beings don't invest in their personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. When I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, it's to at least be a starting point to begin on finding that space within oneself that we can be grateful so we have the capacity to love another human being. Because if we don't have at least a little bit capacity to love ourselves, and if our thoughts are 80% negative, then imagine how loving can you actually be in a relationship. And this is true for all human beings. I'm saying men, women, and all the different variations of what that includes. So I was listening to another podcast today, and it said that 96% of relationships, there's one person is codependent in the relationship. I'll repeat that. 96% of relationships, one person is codependent. And I thought to myself, wow, now I always thought codependency was the attachment to a person who has an addiction. In fact, if you're not familiar with the book Codependent No More by Melody Beatty, this book came out 20 or 30 years ago and talked about codependency in a way that was never discussed before. And this is still today considered one of the premier books. So I highly recommend. And the subtitle is How to Stop Controlling Others and Start Caring for Yourself. How to Stop Controlling Others and Caring for Yourself. Now, some people probably would reject the idea that they're codependent. So the therapist on the podcast shared some examples, and I invite you all to lean into this, because you're not going to be able to recognize someone is genuinely falling in love with you, nor is the person capable of genuinely falling in love with you if you're not in a healthy state of individual love for oneself. So let me give you some examples that she shared of codependency. Feeling responsible or solving the problems of the other person. Feeling responsible or solving the problems of the other person. Feeling used or unappreciated for all that you do. Feeling used and unappreciated for all that you do. Here's one. Offering advice to others without their consent. Offering advice to others without their consent. Expecting others to do what you say for them to do. In other words, expecting others to do what you say. Taking things personally and personalizing problems. Feeling like a victim. Trying to please others in order to obtain their love or acceptance. And the number one component of codependency is a fear of rejection. And as a dating and relationship coach for women, I can habitually say to you, most women operate from a fear in relationship of being rejected. In other words, I oftentimes see women don't speak their truth in relationship for fear that the man's going to break up with you. And coming back to my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Chapter 1, speak your truth, do it with kindness. And chapter 9 is if it's sincere and from the heart, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So I'm here to suggest empowerment for all of you women who are watching this. And I just ordered a brand new book. I haven't began reading it, but I'm very excited to share it. I'm not sharing it from a place of knowledge. I'm sharing it from a place of curiosity. But what I love, the title is a little off-putting. It's called Why Men Love Bitches. But I love the subtitle. From Doormat to Dream Girl, a woman's guide to holding her own in a relationship. A woman's guide to holding her own. Ladies, you habitually give your power away to men in relationship, meaning that the relationship is dependent on his terms. And I'm here to say you are in charge of your relationship destiny. And if you're not operating from an empowered place, then most likely you might be operating from a codependent place. And it doesn't matter what the guy does. If you're not coming from a place of loving oneself, and I don't mean you love yourself 100%, I mean you're just loving yourself, it's going to be difficult to appreciate love from another person. And I'm here to draw attention. Many of you misunderstand or misuse the word love when you're actually experiencing unhealthy attachment or just any attachment to another human being, or you might be experiencing the imago. So if you don't understand this, you might be, by the way, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. And it's time to shift that narrative for yourself, or at least that's my invitation. All right. So let's talk about the 3 signs he's genuinely falling head over heels in love with you. Now, I want to be candid with you. I'm not going to give you 3. I'm actually going to give you 6. I put an and in between each one of the 3. So we're going to do blank and blank. But the first one, listen, if you're in a relationship with a really good guy, a genuinely good guy, this is how he'll be showing up in relationship. If he's really a genuinely good, kind-hearted, empathetic man who wants to be in relationship, who wants to be in commitment, this is how he'll show up. So number 1, by the way, just showing you my notes. He makes you a priority and he makes plans with you. Those are 2, actually, because 1 is making you a priority. And then the second is he makes plans with you. When a man is continually doing that, that's a good sign he genuinely cares about you, that he wants a relationship with you. And let me be clear. This happens after the short-phased honeymoon. And the short-phased honeymoon is basically, these days, most relationships, it's about 3 dates before sex happens. And if you follow my work, you know, ladies, before the penis goes inside the vagina, you should be reading the book 8 Dates by Drs. John and Julie Gottman, okay? Because this is how you test men. And if he genuinely cares about you, he will want to read this with you. I'm getting email after email after email from women telling me, oh my gosh, this is working, Jonathan. I've introduced this book before we've had sex, and the guy is actually reading it with me. And the men that don't probably aren't very serious about being in a relationship, at least with you anyway. So he makes you a priority and he makes plans with you. Even the plan to read the book together is a great sign that he's making you a priority and he makes plans with you. I can't tell you how many times I witness women, they get love bombed, the guy comes on strong, they believe all the rhetoric the guy says, only to find out that after sex, he just stops making plans and he stops making you a priority. A man who continually does this for the first 6 months, he's genuinely falling in love with you. Or he's head over heels in love with you. Number 2, he's protective of you and he shows he respects you. He's protective of you and he shows he respects you. A man who genuinely cares about you, again, after you've had sex with them and the relationship keeps progressing, he will actually show a protection. He'll walk on the outside of the street. He'll put his arm out if he sees that there's traffic. He will do small gestures to demonstrate that he's protective of you. If somebody is looking you sideways, he might, feel the need to be, confront the other person, whatever it is. And he shows he respects you by being on time for dates. His actions will consistently match his words. His action, that's a level of respect when your actions consistently match your words. Because when your actions don't match your words, it's disrespect. Ladies, I don't know how many times I listen and witness women who are in relationships with men whose actions don't consistently match his words, and yet you still want this person. That's a person treating you with disrespect. And look, I'm your big brother. If I could be there on a first date for you, I'd have the shotgun out. I'd point at the guy's face and say, "What's your intentions with my sister?" Because what that says is, if you cross my sister, I'm going to shoot you in the ass with this shotgun. What that means is there's a consequence if your actions don't consistently match your words and you don't treat my little sister with respect. And ladies, I can't be there for you to do that. You have to do that for yourself. This is why, coming back to the book, Why Men Love Bitches, I mentioned earlier, is an empowerment. Ladies, it is time for you to take back your power. Would you write down in the comments or the in the chat box, "I retain my power. I retain my power. I do not give my power away to men." Can you please say that to me? I want to hear you say that. I want you to step into your empowerment, because there's a lot of dating advice out there that is literally suggesting to women that your job is to merely be submissive to men. And I'm here to say, true, genuine men who want a serious partnership do not want submissive women. Now, I will tell you that men and women like cooperative people. That's a very natural thing to want to be with someone who's cooperative and genuinely agreeable versus nagging, controlling, or worse, compromises their own boundaries habitually. People don't like those types of people. What we really appreciate in human beings most when we're in a healthy space is we appreciate someone else who's in a healthy, empowered space. So I retain my power. Okay. And number 3, he wants to take care of you and he wants full commitment. Let me repeat that. He wants to take care of you. Now, I want to share something with you. I was in a relationship with a woman, my most significant relationship after my divorce, and I was going through a tough financial time in my life. I was starting this business. I'd lost all my money in the market crash of 2008. In all transparency, I had to move in with my mom and dad in a retirement community. And quite frankly, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I was in no position to take care of anyone else because I could barely take care of myself. I was a train wreck. And I was in a relationship with a woman who accepted me. Now, she didn't need me financially or anything like that. She was very self-sufficient and she saw my potential. So that's what she was most attracted to. But even I couldn't take care of myself. And there are a lot of men after divorce that can't take care of themselves. And it makes it very difficult to actually fully commit to a relationship if you can't take care of yourself, because on some level, when you're in partnership with someone that says, "I can take care of you." That was the whole idea of wedding vows. The wedding vow said, for both of you, is in sickness and health, I will take care of you. Through thick and thin, I will take care of you. When a man actually, and by the way, folks, I probably haven't felt, I finally can take care of myself. It's taken me a decade to get there after that happened. Again, that was the market crash of 2008. So it took me a good 10 years to get to a place where I could really take care of myself, although I moved out of my mom and dad's place years ago. But I now feel like I can take care of someone. And it wasn't until I had this awareness that I could take care of someone that I realized that I now have the capacity to fall head over heels in love with someone. Because up until this point, and sadly, during this time, I lost my 19-year-old son, Connor. I lost my mom. There's a picture of my mom and dad. My mom passed away. There's a picture of Connor. He passed away. So in 2018. So I've been going through a lot of trauma too. And it's only just in the recent last few months, the last maybe 6 months, have I really stepped into the idea that I can actually take care of someone. And now I know deep in my heart that I can actually fall head over heels in love with someone because I made that commitment before I ever met the woman. I did a meme the other day on the community page, but a man can't really fall in love until he makes the decision that he wants to fully commit and that he wants to fall in love with someone. Let me repeat that. He wants to fully commit and he wants to fall in love. And until that happens, it's very difficult to actually fall head over heels in love with someone because you need to have that beforehand. The sad part is most humans operate like this. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Instead of operating when I believe, I will see it. When I believe I can fully take care of someone, when I believe I can fully commit. In other words, when I want to take care of someone, when I want to commit, that is when a special person will enter into, well, at least my hope is for my own life. So I hope you got some value out of this. These 3 signs he's genuine, they're really actually 6. I'm just going to repeat them really quickly. He makes you a priority and he makes plans with you. Number 3 and 4, he's protective and he shows he respects you. And number 5 and 6, okay, these are really all part of 1, 2, and 3. He wants to take care of you and he wants to fully commit. That is when a man can actually have the capacity to really fall head over heels in love with you because he's made the decision in his life that he wants this. And sadly, most humans are just strictly winging it, both men and women alike. And this is why we have such a dysfunctional dating, mating, and relating realm out there. And as I said earlier, if 96% of relationship, there's one codependent person, it's going to be very difficult to lean into a relationship. When I believe it, I will see it. All right. I think you got the gist of where I was going on this part of the broadcast. Now let's move to the Q&A. All right. Those who know my format know my Q&A is simple. Write the word question. By the way, if you're listening to the audio version of this, you won't be able to see this, but there's a chat box for here. Those are on live. Please write the word question, post the question there after, or purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a $sign in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay, who passed away. All the monies in the scholarship fund get donated to causes like the Hoffman Process or Insight seminars. We've already donated over $2,000 to those organizations. And I'd love to be able to give some more. So all of your help. And again, this is for only those live, not listening to the recording. So again, purchase a super sticker, super chat. All right, let's look for questions. All right. Oh, Jade just wrote, you're one of the only coaches who don't shame women for being strong, empowered, and intentional in the dating process. If you want an equal, then you should be the person you want to attract. Hey, fucking man, I'm in full agreement. I am all about individual empowerment. This is why I'm reading this book, Why Men Love Bitches. I'm dying to know. I'm really curious to hear what she has to say. I was reading the reviews. And I'm very curious to hear what she has to say. So yes, I am. Thank you for saying that, Jade. I really appreciate it. All right. Suzanne writes, question. How will you be spending your Friday evening? I'm just curious. Well, I'm actually going to a party. It's called a stranger's party where 25 people have to bring one guest to introduce, like I think it's called a stranger's party, but the idea is to intermingle with others, to get to know new people you wouldn't otherwise know in your life. And who knows, I might get lucky and meet the love of my life at this event. So Suzanne, Suzanne, that's what I'm doing tonight. So thank you for asking. All right. Let's see. If you have a question, post the word question or purchase a super stack or a super chick sticker. Lori says, amen. Trista says, I really enjoyed the book. She's talking about Why Men Love Bitches. Suzanne says, how cute what you're doing, Jonathan. Thank you so much. All right, let's see what questions we have. I saw one earlier. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, a lot of people are saying I retain my power. Way to go. If you have a question, post the word question or purchase a super sticker, super chat. I don't see any questions here. So let's go We're going to have a short live stream if we don't have any questions. Folks, I need something to talk about. Bring up the tough subjects. I'm trying to think what we can. You know what? I do want to talk. Oh, I see a question from Becca. Okay, good. Question. If you've been dating a man for a while and he's showing that he loves you, like you hang out with his family, he prioritizes you, but doesn't ever say, I love you, what's that about? Okay, great question. So I love you for some people is the deepest form of verbalizing a commitment, because it has an implied expectation of some longevity. I repeat, that has an implied expectation of longevity. So while a man might be falling in love with you and he's demonstrating it through his actions, when a person says, I love you, it's almost akin to a commitment of something in the future. And it sounds like he's not ready for that. So my couple questions for you would be, how long have you been dating? Are you having regular sex together? Have you talked about what a committed relationship looks like for either one of you? Have you had those conversations? And if you haven't had those conversations, I believe it's going to be more difficult to lean into love outside of the limerence and lust most humans feel. I'm going to repeat that. Outside of limerence or lust most humans feel. So, I would start having deeper conversations. Again, purchase the book 8. By the way, if his penis gets to regularly go inside your vagina, you should be reading this book together. And when I say should, you must be. Because what's the fucking point of having sex with someone if it's not going to go? Listen, I told you right from the beginning of my podcast, I'm here to talk about partnership. I'm not talking about casual relationships, situationships, friends with benefits. You're more than welcome to do any of those. Ladies, you can fuck whomever you want. I am not here to judge that. I'm here to say if you want partnership, then be more intentional about it. So, and by the way, if you've only been dating 3 weeks, I don't think he's going to say, you didn't say that, but I mean, he's not, for some men, it could take anywhere from 3 months to a year before they say, I love you, because it has an implied expectation of some long-term seriousness. So that's probably the reason why. Thank you so much for that question, Becca. I appreciate it. Carrie says she typed a question earlier. You're going to have to write it again, Carrie. I'm not a mind reader here. I can't find everything. Sorry. Okay. Joy writes, question. How do I get my boyfriend to believe I will never leave him after we marry? So if he has trust issues, here's how you're going to get him to heal that. You spend the $5,000 and you go to the Hoffman process to heal childhood wounds and traumas and adult traumas that is causing that. Without that healing, he's going to be habitually afraid and have trust issues. Folks, you got to do the work. You got to do the work, and you have to be with people willing to do the work, because magic fairy dust doesn't change anything. Magic fairy dust doesn't change unhealed wounds and traumas. What heals unwound it's going to take Herculean work. And I guarantee you're going to have a dysfunctional relationship if he and you don't do the work together. So that's my suggestion. Go to the Hoffman process. By the way, people will spend more money on shoes and luggage and clothing, but very little on their personal development. In fact, the average person spends more time brushing their teeth than actually doing inner work to heal the childhood wounds and traumas and adult traumas that makes us human beings rather dysfunctional in relationship and have terrible emotional maturity and relationship skills. And I'm only yelling to get my point across. So Joy, I'm sorry. He's going to have to do major work to heal that one. That is, you can't just simply say, I promise I'll be faithful to you. That's not going to work. It just ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. Go do the Hoffman process. Change your life. Go to therapy. Go to counseling. He needs to do that, not you. Well, you do it together, maybe. All right. Thank you so much for your question. I appreciate it. Jade writes, is there a fine line between being empowered without vomiting, nagging, being controlling? What is the definition of a bitch? A bitch is a babe in total control of herself. Babe in total control of herself. Nagging is not total control of yourself. Controlling is not being in control of yourself. Vomiting is not being in control of yourself. Self-discipline is being in control of yourself. Read the book, The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements. This is a must-read book. Is there a fine line? No, there is no fine line. Being empowered, you come from a curious, heart-centered space. And when you're coming from a place of love, when you're in empowerment, and when you're coming in all those other places, you're coming from egoic fear. That's it. There's no fine line. It's very clear, the lines, okay? Very clear. All right, thank you for that question, Jade. All right, let's see. Bump, bump, bump. Becky writes, how do you deal with the new man's unhealed ex who has stepped over her boundaries? How do you deal with the new man's unhealed ex? You deal with him with love. He's got an ex that crosses boundaries. Are you going to judge him for someone else's behavior? What you might encourage is boundaries for him. You don't deal with it. You encourage boundaries. But if he is incapable of that, then listen, folks, today's podcast or broadcast, I'm going to repeat myself. Folks, everybody needs therapy. Everybody needs healing. We are a fucking dysfunctional society here. My emotional maturity relationship skills chart. This is not a fact, it's opinion. 20% of the population has clinical issues. And while I say over here 20% is healthy, and I'm being ridiculously generous, most human beings are dysfunctional, you included. You included. We are a dysfunctional batch of people. Human beings are ridiculously dysfunctional, and the only way to heal is to do the work. Magic fairy dust doesn't heal. Work heals. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. And that's the only way it's going to shift this narrative. So you make the recommendation of healthy boundaries. And if he's incapable to do that, then you have to ask yourself, do you want to be in relationship with his ex-spouse? And by the way, this is the challenge for those of us in divorce. Those of us that have gone through divorce. It's like we're not just buying the cow, we're buying all we're buying all the shit that comes with it. Whether we like it or not, we're buying all of the dysfunctionality. So I prefer people to have healthy relationships with their ex. I used to cross boundaries with my ex all the time right in the beginning of our divorce because I still felt on some level married to her. That changed after a while. It took me at least 5 years before I learned to stop crossing boundaries. And she repeated it over and over again because I was dysfunctional. I was strung out on cocaine. I was miserable. I'd lost my job. I was a train wreck. People who are train wrecks oftentimes don't know how to set healthy boundaries for themselves or with others. And I'm only yelling because at the end of the day, folks, I watched a commercial the other day. I mentioned this in my last live stream, but I was watching a commercial where 3 women are sitting at a table. They're talking about this one woman's date. And she goes, oh my God, he checked off all the boxes. He's tall, he's handsome, he has a great job, blah, blah, blah. And they go, why are you and she ignored his text message. And the woman says, he doesn't do therapy. That's a deal breaker for her. These days, this is a must. Human beings, we need it. I'm sorry. You may not like what I'm saying, but whether it's therapy, whether it's personal development, whether it's self-help work, whether it's spiritual work, if you want to ever have a chance at a juicy, delicious relationship, it's going to require both people having done Herculean work to get there. And the reality is most everyone watching this are going to have dysfunctional relationships, partially because a significant percent of the population has codependency issues, like I shared in the beginning of this broadcast. So anyway, I hope I answered your question. I was a little bit curt with you, and I hope you will forgive me. So thank you. Penny says, question, how can someone my age get into the dating with a potential quality partner material? Penny, I don't know how old you are. So are you 25 years old? Or are you 75? I don't know. But how do you get, you have to be, listen, folks, let's be understanding of something. If you want to have a date, you have to be seen by a single eligible person. You have to be seen by them. Folks, I work from home. I'm very blessed. I live with a gorgeous ocean view. I work from home, but I'm not out in front of people except for what I'm going to do tonight. Okay. I mean, maybe if there's a female burglar that comes through my door and says, I want to steal your TV, and by the way, you're cute, you have to be seen by single eligible people. These days, 75 or roughly 50% of all new relationships is happening through an online connection. And yet most of the profiles I look at online are crappy by women. I mean, just absolute crap. You know, look at this first picture. I can barely recognize her. You might go, oh, she's cute and darling, but I can't recognize what she looks like. Let me go to this one. She's wearing sunglasses in her first picture. That's a no-no. Another one, sunglasses in her first picture. That's a no-no. Look at this one. She's not even looking in the camera. This is the first photograph. Folks, if you want to be seen by me or anyone else, you got to put a quality profile together. Look at my profile. First picture, quality photograph. Next picture, a quality, you can't see, a quality photograph. My kid's dog, okay? A body shot. A fun shot. And lastly, the books I read. Folks, if you want to be seen, you have to put a great representation of yourself to be seen. Otherwise, if you can't be seen, how can you be asked out on a date? You have to be seen by someone. And they have to be a single eligible person. Jonathon, where do I go to meet guys? Folks, listen, it's going to require being more creative than ever before, because we are a dysfunctional society here where we become, the older we get, we become more closed off to people and we become more set in our ways. So if you want to have a date, you got to maybe ask, ladies, you might start having to ask men out on dates and understand that you might be rejected for it. There's no two ways around this. You have to be seen. And you have to be desirable. What about that? You also have to be desirable, because nobody knows your personality. It takes time to get to know someone. Keep in mind, we are meeting total strangers these days. So you got to make effort. And I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this because so many, look at the profiles I just looked at. They all look like shit. They're not going to get my swipe. All right, I'm done ranting about that. Thank you, Penny, for that question. All right. Homeboat Boogie says, question, who is the one if you are in love with two? I have no idea what you're saying. Lori says, question, do you have any advice for widows looking to meet new special someone to share their life with? Lori, just what I just said. You have to be, it doesn't matter whether you're a widow or not. You have to be seen by single eligible people. Right now, online dating is the #1 place, even though it's the most dysfunctional place. Otherwise, you're just, by the way, the other thing is, folks, start asking your friends to set you up. Start being more intentional. Because sitting at home praying, I mean, this is a good thing. You can certainly, God, universe, spirit, allow me the opportunity to connect with someone special in my life, someone special that can join together and hold hands with me on this journey of love. And I'm looking for that true partner in my life, that person that we share the same values, our lifestyles are blendable. We both have the emotional maturity and we have the chemistry to want to jump each other's bones and fuck each other's brains out on a regular basis. So, God, universe, spirit, Gus, please invite that in my life and do some inspired action to make that happen for you. Can I get an amen? All right. Deborah writes, question, Why do some people just never seem to meet up, whether intentionally or accidentally, go the distance, especially 50 and up? Why do some people just never? Fear, 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 fear. People are afraid. It's natural to be afraid. It takes surrendering to love to actually be able to experience love. It takes a beginner's mind to experience love. And for those who have had trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma, both in their childhood, abandonment, abuse, maybe a nasty divorce, maybe a nasty partner, maybe someone at work, maybe a friend did something that affected you, maybe trust issues, all the different emotional baggage human beings are carrying. We are riddled with flaws. And it is so fucking naive. I'm sorry, but humans are so delusional. They're delusional to their own dysfunctionality. Most humans, not all, most humans are delusional to their own dysfunctionalities. And worse, they're hypocrites about it. And then some even go worse and they're victims over it all. I'm a victim to it all. We are suckling on the nipple of victim consciousness here in the United States. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. But you don't have to worry about everyone else. All you have to do is care about yourself, to heal oneself, to operate from a place of love. What would love do? How would love respond? Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. The Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Like giving yourself a shot of love, forgiveness, forgiving love. My invitation for all of you is to operate from a place of what would love do and how would love respond? Thank you for that question. Carrie, I finally found it, or you finally reposted it. Question: How do you find that you are dating someone who resembles one or both of your parents? How do you find them? Are you asking, I want to heal my wounds, so I want to date the person that's going to create the most anxiety in my life so I can heal my wounds? Is that? Or how do you recognize them so before you date them? Okay. I'm going to assume the latter. How do I recognize that? Here's the thing. It's going to suck what I'm about to say, but the way God, universe, spirit designed our humanity, our own individual journeys, God, universe, the spirit basically wants you to experience so much shit in your life, so much shit, that you actually stand in your empowerment. Basically, you're going to be hit by 2x4 after 2x4 after 2x4 until you say, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. By the way, does anyone know what movie that's from? It's a Academy Award winning movie back in the 70s. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. In other words, I am going to start living an empowered life. I'm going to do the Hoffman process like Jonathon recommends. I'm going to read the book, Why Men Love Bitches. I'm going to read the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. By the way, all listed below. I'm going to read the book, Emotional Intimacy by Robert Masters. I'm going to learn as much as I can about myself. I'm going to even read the book, How to Be an Adult in a Relationship. I'm going to read all these books and I'm going to start doing the inner work so I can become an amazing human being, because it doesn't matter whether or not I fall in love with someone else. What matters most is I fall in love with myself, or do my best to love on myself. And God, universe, spirit is going to throw curveballs at you every single day. And guess what? Life is a game. You can look at it as fun, or you can look at it as, and there are going to be times when you say, God, okay, I get the lesson. You don't need to send it to me. But if you have to say that, God, universe, spirit is going to keep sending you the lesson until you start looking for that love within yourself. And then you won't need to attract one or both of your parents to heal because you've already healed within yourself. Can I get an amen? Gary, thank you so much for your question. I hope that helps. Penny, you shared your age. How does one my age, 73, find a quality partner, widowed 18 years? By the way, go to widowers groups. But I shared with you, you have to be seen. You got to find ways. I mean, I can't tell you what to do. You have to figure that out for yourself. Folks, you give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. When you learn how to fish for yourself, you feed yourself for a lifetime. You're going to have to figure this out on yourself. But widower groups, Home Depot, golf courses, that's where all the men are. Start playing golf. Start going to Home Depot. Miss Kit Kat says, if he says love you instead of I love you, does that mean he doesn't really and just saying it? That's a good question. I think so. I think men who don't say I love you, it's because they don't, as I said earlier, they don't want to give the perception that they will go the distance with you. So that's the shortcut way. Again, dysfunctional human beings will do dysfunctional things. By the way, sometimes you forget you're awesome, and this is your reminder. All right. Let's see what else we have. Nicole says, what are your top 3 tips in finding your soulmate? What are your 3 top tips in finding your soulmate? Well, for me, she's got to be into me. In other words, she has an affinity. I can feel that she's into me. Number 2, she's got her act together. She's got her act together. She has her life together. She's not in drama. She's not in chaos. She has her act together. And 3rd, she has a passion for personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. Because for me, that's where I want to dance in that realm. So for me, that's my top 3. You come up with your 3 non-negotiables. And then God, universe, spirit, I invite you to attract in that person who is totally into me and I'm into her. And I want to attract in that person who has got their act together. And lastly, they're into the shit I'm into. God, universe, spirit, allow that into my life. Thank you. Sue says, even putting in the work, or even with putting the work in, my fear is my very deep-seated, rooted childhood trauma will always affect my intimate relationships with the opposite sex. I've been doing the work. Yep, you're doing the work. You got to heal, okay? At the end of the day, you got to heal. And sometimes healing is just letting go of it all and just trusting. That's it. Sometimes it's just letting go of it all and trusting that God, universe, spirit, because you don't need to relive your traumas over and over again. And if you do, what's the definition of insanity? What's the definition of suffering? Sometimes you just got to let it go. All right. GS says, question, if he's my best friend, how do we step into more? Have sex with him. That's a great way to go from best friends to a relationship. Have sex with each other. Question, do you think a person can have too much knowledge about relationships and too much life experience to be bendable with another mature person, especially 50s and older? You know, I vacillate over this question for myself. I am my own worst enemy. Part of my problem is I can't stop putting on my coach's hat. It is really a challenge for me. I think, let's put it to you this way. I could have had 3 relationships since my last significant relationship ended. All of these relationships ended if I settled. I could have settled on several relationships just to have a relationship. I think when you have knowledge, you actually come at it from ability to be in a healthy relationship. So all you have to do is trust that the universe will invite the most amazing person in your life. First, that amazing person is within yourself. And I trust that universe has done that for me. God, universe, spirit. And I trust that the universe will bring that in for my life. And if you need some help with that, check out the link to a free discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. That's my answer for you, Deborah. All right, folks, you know what? It's Friday night. I want you to go out, all have a great time tonight. I hope you found value in the 3 signs he's genuinely falling head over heels in love with you. I just a reminder what those are. Oh, thank you, Heather, for the $10 super sticker. But I want to remind you what they are. He makes you a priority and he makes plans with you. He's protective of you and he shows he respects you. And lastly, he wants to take care of you and he wants to fully commit before he wants those things before he ever meets you. I believe it, and then I'll see it. When I believe it, I will see it. Anyway, really quickly, oh my gosh, we have so much here. Did you find value in this broadcast today? Please let me know. Say, yes, I found value. Heather says, letting go of it all and just trusting. Best advice ever. Way to go, Heather, and thank you for the $10 super sticker. Folks, am I making a difference in your life? Please let me know. Post a comment below. Post it in the chat box. If you would, please tell your friends about my channel. Please hit that like button before we wrap up tonight. And I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, giving myself a big, gigantic Jonathon Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm asking you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Yellow Moon and Kit Kat and Jade and Angel and Heather and Loving Life and Suzanne and Vicky and Melissa and Kay Knowles and M and Crystal and Ramona, everyone, Renee, Vicky, Elaine, Aaron, Natob, I can't even pronounce your name, Nicola, everyone, I want to wish you a fab evening. Be well. Take care.